Hello, everybody. I'm here with my dear brother, Carlos Duran, who is the expert on plant medicine healing modality and ayahuasca. And today we are literally going to dive into what is ayahuasca and if it's for you. That's the title of this video. I get a lot of questions about what is ayahuasca and what does it do? What does it come from? Where to go? So Carlos is an expert. He literally spent last 10, maybe more years of his life in ceremonies and helping a lot of people, being in ceremony one-on-one. And he is the expert in this subject. And I will pass the microphone to you and welcome, welcome.
Hola, Juliet. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to you that are watching this. First, let me start by saying that, Juliet, to you and to you at home, the divine in me sees, recognizes, and honors the divine in you. Thank you for your time, for your curiosity, and for this opportunity to share, especially about something that's so near and dear to my heart, like ayahuasca. My son is in the background. He's about a year and a half old, and he really wants to be with his dad all day today. It's just one of those days, so please excuse him as he comes in and out from time to time.
It's totally fine. He can be with us.
Let me lock the door real quick. It'll
Okay. You want to stay
anyway,
till the end of this video. We are going to share a lot of information.
That's the plan, for sure. So I would definitely say make sure you watch all the way to the end, because we're going to be dropping a lot of gems and a lot of insight. And I am here to share the benefit of over 11 years of study now with the sacred medicine and the indigenous tribes that I've been having the blessing in my life to continuously work with throughout these years. So what is ayahuasca? That's a very common question. Unfortunately, the answer is not so easy. There's a lot of layers to that question. We'll start with the most basic answer. Ayahuasca, in its most basic form, is a vine and a leaf. And the vine is cooked. There's a whole process on how it's harvested, how it's prepared, how it's cooked. The process for the vine, the harvest can take 2 or 3 days. There's a preparation that's made. And of course, this is in the traditional sense, understanding that today there's a whole commercial aspect to the sacred plant. And maybe we'll touch on that later, but everything that I'm going to talk about comes from the traditional sense and the way that it's been taught to me through the cultures that I work with in ayahuasca. There are many cultures, and each culture has its own design according to the region and the area and the study that they've had with the plant. Ayahuasca is a general term. We can start with that as well. It's a general term. In some places, it's called uni. In some places, it's called ambihuasca. In some places, it's called yahe. So it has different terminology or different names in different regions. And they might have a different way that they prepare it. But in general, there's a preparation that's made for the individual that's going to go harvest the plant for the individuals. And they will meditate, they will do special plant baths. In some cultures, like this cultures that I study with, the Ngano culture, there's an ash bath, like literally put ash on your body. And the plant, the vine is harvested. And the leaf as well, that's the other component. It's a marriage between a vine and a leaf, and it's called a marriage. One element is considered to be the masculine energy, another element is considered to be the feminine energy. And to this, they come together and they give birth to what is the actual brew. So when this plant, this vine, is a very tall vine, they grow, 20, 30, 40 meters in the air. Some a little less, some 15 meters. So to put it in terms of feet, it could be anywhere from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet up in the air. It wraps around the tree. Some cultures and in some areas, the vine is allowed to grow downhill. And so it weaves in and out of the ground or across the ground. It slithers like a snake downhill. And again, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 feet or more. in length. And it's a very thick vine. It can be anywhere from 5 inches in diameter to more, depending on how old the vine is when it's harvested. Then it's a vine, so it's wood, right? I mean, it's basically wood, just like a thick vine, a thick trunk. So the wood has to be scraped clean so that all the debris, all the bugs, all the just the earthen elements are scraped off it, so it's cleaned very well. Then by hand, it's cut down into sections, and then it's mashed. It's mashed. In some cultures, we use a club. In other cultures, they use a rock. But the vine is then made almost into what you would call a flat design. And then it's cooked over the course. Some cultures don't cook it that long. In our culture, in the Yahe culture, we can cook it anywhere from 2 to 3 days nonstop. And that's an important element because once the cooking begins, it doesn't stop until the brew is complete. So you usually need a team of men that will attend to the fire and to the brew. And then there will be a team of women that are taking care of the food, the drink, and anything else that might be needed in support of what's happening in what we call basically the kitchen. But the kitchen is outdoors. It's stone and wood, and sometimes a steel grill is used or an iron grill is used. And now in today's world, we use galvanized pots. At least in our community, we use galvanized pots to avoid any kind of aluminum seeping into the brew while it's cooked. So the vine is cooked for a couple of days, and the leaves are washed very well. They're separated so that they don't clump together, and they're mashed up a bit to open them up. And when they're mashed, like you have basically it's called a pilon, and the leaves are mashed to get them to open, and then they're brewed as well. This is like making a giant tea. In fact, in some cultures, they call the medicine the tea because it's exactly that. It's just these two earthly elements from nature, a vine and a leaf, that are brewed separately. And again, this is from the Yahe culture. Other traditions have other ways of working with it, but in general, there's a cleansing, a harvest or preparation to harvest, a harvest. Then the harvest is brought into the place where the cooking takes place, and the cooking starts and doesn't stop until it's all complete. There's typically an element of men that are doing the cooking and an element of women that are preparing the sustenance that is needed for the men to work these long 12, 18, 20-hour shifts. The entire process is traditionally done in a sacred manner with sacred songs, prayers, laughter, meditation. In some moments, there's a sacred silence that's held. There's the use of kapal and other smudging agents. There's the use of the harmonica, maybe guitar. There might be somebody there that plays guitar or flutes. And so all these elements are carried throughout the cooking process. There comes a time when the brew of the leaf and the brew of the wine are then married together. The marriage takes place. And then this is reduced. The reduction could take anywhere from 12, 18 to 24 hours, depending on the volume and the intensity of the heat. It's a fine art to do this. What I'm speaking is a very general overview of how it's done, because the measurements are precise, the consistency has to be precise, the heat on the fire has to be precise. The chefs, let's say, have to know when to add wood, when to take away wood, when to stop the fire completely. And it all has a fine point because you don't want it to stay too raw and you don't want the brew to overcook. So then once it's done, it's allowed to cool. It's then put in vessels to transport or to bury. And then at some point in time, it's shared in a sacred ceremony. So that's the preparation of ayahuasca. Now, in some cultures, ayahuasca means the vine of the dead. In other cultures, it represents the vine of healing. Um, and basically, the way that my teacher explains it, that even though there's many types of ayahuasca in the sense of that there are many traditions behind it, and they're all valid traditions. It's not just by country, it's by region. So you can go to Peru, you can go to Brazil, you can come to Colombia, Ecuador, and these countries have their general tradition or their general design for the vine for ayahuasca. But then within regions and within tribes, there's nuances that change from territory to territory. And all the designs are valid. They're all done in a sacred manner. They all represent cultures that extend beyond 5,000 years of tradition, of wisdom, of sharing. And up until modern times, it was all done orally and through practice, right? The grandparents would teach the parents, that would teach the children, not just through word, but through practice, through actual participation in all the rituals, the planting, the harvesting, the taking care of, the learning of the songs, the learning of the prayers, the learning of the preparations, the meditations, the fast, the plant baths, the actual ritual of the ceremony of sharing the brew. And so when we're talking about a 5,000-year-old tradition, and we're talking about many regions across Central South America, and the Amazon, right? We only have so much time. And my knowledge is also limited. I haven't studied all these cultures. I'm not aware of all their nuances. So I'm here doing my best to share with you what I've been able to learn and acquire in the past 11 years. So that's a general term of ayahuasca. As my teacher says, there's many names for it in many regions. And he compares it to a mountain. And each culture would have its own trail, right? So this would be their ayahuasca, and this would be the other culture's ayahuasca, and this would be our ayahuasca, and in our culture we call it yahe. And all these trails are leading up the same mountain to the same point. And that point is a point of healing, where we as humans are able to heal first and foremost the illusion of separation through the opportunity to receive ayahuasca or yahe, the sacred brew. One of the deep healings that takes place is that I'm not alone. I've never been alone. Nature's alive within me, and I'm alive within nature. There's no separation between me and a tree and a bird and the sea. There's no separation between me and my fellow brothers and sisters, my fellow humans. We are literally the same breath of creation. We are literally the same molecular structure that creates the skin, that creates the organs. Our bloods flow the same way. Our lungs function the same way. Our hearts beat the same way. We are literally one with just a different face, and like my teacher says, some of us are cuter, some of us are uglier, but we're all the same. And one of the greatest things that I've seen happen over time with this sacred brew is the dissolving of that illusion, that I'm somehow separate from you and you're separate from me. And what happens is when this illusion is dissolved, we come to understand not only that we've never been alone and that we'll never be alone, but that there's a greater purpose to life. There is a reason why to live. There's a reason why to expand happiness, why we should plant seeds of joy, of love, not just for ourselves, not just for our community, but for the future generations that are to come. That's another great thing that happens through this brew, is that we come into a conscious awareness of the future. What is the legacy? What is the inheritance that I'm leaving today for the children that are coming after me, and their children and their children? What's the world that I want to give to them when I am gone? Another amazing thing about this brew is very practical. It offers a lot of practical guidance and advice for your life in times of confusion, in times of doubt. We can come to this medicine in the need to heal. I've seen this medicine support greatly in the healing of depression, of PTSD. I've seen people that were deeply entrenched in the sickness of suicide find new purpose in their life. I've seen marriages heal, families come together. I've seen people be able to release the burden of the traumas from their childhood, pains from their parents, rape, absence, isolation. I've seen people with physical disease coming to healing. And I've seen ayahuasca be a key bridge in them crossing over from a sickness to a state of holistic health and complete wellness. I think it's also very important this time to say that ayahuasca, and certainly none of the cultures that I've been exposed to, and while I study with one principal culture in the last 11 years, I've been exposed to maybe 10, 12 different tribes from different regions of the world. And none of them, us included, hold ayahuasca or yahe to be a religion. For us, it is a culture. It is a cultivation of a path towards the heights. It's a cultivation of a path that brings us closer to God, to the Divine Father, to the Divine Mother. For us, it's a tradition of learning. It's a tradition where we learn a teaching and ancestral knowledge. It's a tradition of wisdom where we take knowledge and put it into action, so then we own it, we know it. It is a tradition and a culture of healing for the mind, body, and the spirit. It is also a tradition that is open to everyone from all walks of life, from all religious backgrounds. At Finca Biwasi, where I have the opportunity, where you as well, Julia, have the opportunity to study with our teacher, Taita Juanito. As you have seen here, we have Catholics that come, we have Buddhists, we have Hindi, we have Mormons that come, we have practitioners of yoga, we have a variety of Christians that come as well, and our path is open to everyone. Ayahuasca, yahe, is a spiritual path for some, like myself. It is something that after 11 years of practice, I have taken its culture, its tradition, and I have said, well, this is my path. This is how I am going to build my relationship to my creator. This is how I'm going to build my relationship to nature. This is how I'm going to build my relationship to others, to myself. This is how I am going to come into the awareness and the frequency of unconditional love. And on this path, we honor all the teachers, Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus Christ, Buddha, Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Mohammed. We've had Muslims come drink with us as well. And so for some, it is a path of life. And for others, it's a supplement. It's just a healing tool, right? It's like drinking a basil tea or drinking a cinnamon tea. Or there are many of us in this world that find more strength, more healing, and more power by using holistic natural substances to deal with headaches or with digestive issues or with blood issues or neurological issues. We find that nature has all the tools that we need to make the mind, body, and soul complete. And so for people like us, ayahuasca is another one of those tools. It is probably one of the most powerful ones in that spectrum of healing tools that we have. Of course, outside of prayer and the miracle of the Creator that's always available to us. So for many that have an established religion, that have established spiritual beliefs, then ayahuasca becomes a supplement, something that they use along the way. And for some people coming to, in the culture, we say it's important to drink at least 3 times. But some people literally drink once or twice, and they receive everything they need. That was their process. That was it. That's all they needed, and they move on. They move on with their path. They move on with their clarity. They move on with their life. Some people drink a few times a year, exactly for that, for a type of physical support, a type of mental support. Some people drink once a year for what I like to call a spiritual oil change. Just like we have to take care of our homes, every so often we have to paint it, we have to sweep, we have to do deep cleans in our home. We take care of our cars, we have to do the oil change the transmission fluid. Somebody just said, oh, I haven't thought about my transmission fluid in a while. I heard you. That's for you. Our brake fluid, well, the physical vessel also needs to have an overhaul. A popular term is a reset. We reset the mind, body, and soul. And ayahuasca is just one door of many doors that exist in the world that allows us to have a mental, physical, and spiritual reset. There's other plant medicines that can be used. There's other modalities like a vipassana, silent retreat, an intense sessions of breath work, an intense yoga retreat. So in no way am I saying that this is the only door. To the contrary, it's just one door of many doors that are available in the world for us to lean on, to find refuge and sanctuary in, even if it's just once a year that we come to one of these modalities in an intense, dedicated way with that express intention of cleaning my mind, cleaning my body, cleaning my spirit, and just resetting and remembering that connection to God, to the Divine Mother, to the Sacred Father that's always there. I have a great teacher, Don Floro, who you've met, Juliet, and he says, why are we always looking to reconnect? We're never disconnected. We just have to remember that connection. Remember to honor it, to feed it, to stoke that sacred fire of the divine that lives within all of us. And so that is what ayahuasca is in a very general sense. It is a tool that can be a life path or not. There's only one door that we can use whenever we feel a calling in our heart to support the healing, the wholeness of the mind, the body, and the soul, to bring more awareness to ourselves of the value of life, to inject into our conscious space more self-love. And that is so key because as Joshua ben Joseph, Jesus Christ said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So we come to understand that loving myself is so important. I may want to help the world or help my family or help my community or help my kids, but you can only help others up to the degree to which you help yourself, to which you love yourself and nourish yourself. And ayahuasca is a tool that helps us come into that encounter, to embrace that. And important, because there's two things that are very prevalent in modern psychology. And one is the traumas of the past. And many times, you've heard, what so-and-so builds with their hands, they destroy with their feet. And you know people that have amazing hearts and they're so giving, yet they can be so angry and so short-tempered. And sometimes with the outside world, they're like a shining light and everybody loves them, and at home they're a tyrannical force. Or you give so much to others, yet behind closed doors you cry, you're depressed, and you completely feel absent of any love. And then you can add all the adjectives and descriptions that go along with this: suicide, sadness, depression, unworthiness. All this is typically, in my experience in dealing with people and supporting in their ayahuasca process, is tied to the past. There's a trauma or a series of traumas that come from the past, typically our childhood and adolescence, not always, but mostly, that we're just not able to fully release. That stain, let's call it, is constant and consistent in creating a smudge through the lenses which we experience the world, and it impacts our perception. So ayahuasca not only cleans the lens and cleans the smudge in the moment, but it literally goes and it releases that attachment to the past. It heals that memory. In our culture, we say that it weaves the disconnection together so that the memory is whole and complete, and you're able to release it so that, like an anchor, it's no longer dragging behind you and pulling you back into the past. So you make a clean cut and you're free to live in the present, no longer obligated to project towards the future based on past experiences or to determine how you feel in the present based on past experiences. You're literally free to experience the present for what it is, a gift of the moment, because that's all we really have. The past doesn't exist. The future hasn't happened yet. So to have the mind, the body, and the soul, to have my mind and body and soul free to be here and now is truly a gift. And that's why they call it the present. The other big thing is what we call ancestral trauma. This has become a very popular phrase, and with good reason. There's a term called epigenetics. And if you've never heard of epigenetics, that's just a fancy way of saying what gets passed down in the DNA from one generation to another. So sometimes we say, oh, my great great grandmother had such and such a disease, and my cousin got it, or someone else got it, or because my mother or my father suffered from this illness, it may be passed down to me or my brothers or my sisters or to our children. So that's epigenetics, right? It's how illness or disease is transferred from one generation to another in the same bloodline, the same family, right? We also call it your family medical history. Well, this also exists in the spiritual realm, right? So there are things that are a memory, let's call it a memory, that's living within my ancestral bloodline. And this is what we call ancestral trauma. When it's a negative memory, because of course there's positive memories as well, but we're focused. So to be very clear, it could be very positive, it's like epigenetics, the strong traits, dominant traits, healthy traits that get passed on in the body, in the organs, in the hair, in athletic abilities, etc., in height. And those are very positive things. There's also positive things that get passed down in the spiritual DNA, in the spiritual blood, in the ancestral blood. And what ayahuasca does, or our culture, yahe, it helps strengthen those positive things. It helps amplify them more for you in the present moment, for your future generations. And all those negative memories, all those memories of pain, of trauma, of hurt, deception, betrayal, abuse, they're healed. They're healed so that your ancestral memory is liberated from. Literally, it heals your ancestors. It heals you, and it liberates future generations from that memory being passed on. So that's another very beautiful, powerful thing that happens with yahe, with ayahuasca, is the healing of the ancestral blood, the spiritual blood. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pretty much a good explanation of what it is. Do you have any specific questions at this time?
No, this is amazing. The most important thing you mentioned, that ayahuasca brings clarity. I work with people actually to reprogram their unconscious mind, and most of my sessions, we access to those memories. My mission in my sessions are making unconscious conscious, because the minute unconscious becomes conscious, that you have a solution. And for me, what does ayahuasca help with is to bring that up so we can work through it. And that's a great tool for anyone. And I believe anyone can really benefit from having a ceremony, even one session of their life, and they will clear all that trauma, ancestral trauma. We don't even remember because our subconscious suppresses all those memories, and it's in our DNA level. And you will be surprised to hear sometimes when I do sessions, people say, oh my God, this was like 5 generations ago. How am I remembering this? Because everything is in your DNA. And this is one of the best tools that we have that is available to humanity, now open to the Western world. Ayahuasca, the brew, the tea, the magic tea. My question now is, who is the best candidate and who is the not good candidate for taking on the ceremonies?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, ayahuasca is for everyone. Okay? The culture, the tradition does not discriminate or in any way have a selection of who can't or who can. Many years ago, I believe we're closing on 4 decades now, so it was over 30, 40 years ago, it became very clear to the elders of ayahuasca that the medicine was sending a message that she wanted to leave the jungle. She wanted to come out into the Western world. And my teacher and his teacher and our grandmothers make it very clear to us that we are one single race. We are the human race. And the goal is to learn one single language, the language of love. And of course, that sounds very romantic. And it's a challenge to achieve, but that's the mission, right? No one said the mission was going to be easy. So ayahuasca is for everyone. Now, that said, there are certain medical conditions that have a contraindication with the brew. So, for example, and I'm not a doctor. I'm not a Western doctor. I am trained in the art of traditional healing. So, as a disclaimer, you have to visit your doctor, right? And just like they say, before you join the gym, check with your physician. You know, before you come drink ayahuasca, check with your physician. That's you know, legally I'm required to say that. And so, but very important, even doubly important, if you're taking any kind of MAO inhibitor, if you're taking any kind of antidepressant, any kind of blood thinner, any kind of heart medication, any kind of internal organ medication, a liver medication, a kidney medication, anything along those lines. Basically, if you're taking any medication, you need to check with your doctor first to see if this works for you. Also, you should check in with the facilitators of wherever you're visiting. Before you make a deposit, you should check with them and say, hey, listen, I'm taking these medications. Do you guys have a doctor on staff that I can consult with? And as well, if you feel comfortable with your primary physician, ask them, if not, find a physician that you do feel comfortable with and talk to them about it. In today's world, in the Western world, there are many doctors that are not just academically familiar with ayahuasca, but have actually experienced the brew. I can tell you in our community that is the case. We work with many doctors who have come and drank with us and sat with us, and they've experienced the benefits for themselves. And then some of them are very brave. Some of them came as guinea pigs because they wanted to see if this was something that they could offer their patients as a potential supplement to their healthcare regimen. So there are definitely medications that they don't work, and so you'd have to come up with a plan with your physician. What does it look like to come off of your medication in order to be able to come and sit in an ayahuasca ceremony? And again, I would recommend, and it's only a recommendation for educational purposes, that you speak with the facilitators of wherever you're attending and ask them if they have a doctor on staff that you can speak to, and supplement that conversation with a very clear and honest conversation with your primary healthcare practitioner, and then figure out a game plan with them.
Yeah, and being very honest about your medication is so important, because I witnessed in person someone not putting down the medication that she was taking, and it just backfires on you, because I understand that they want to attend the ceremony. Being very vulnerable and open to your doctor and your spiritual teacher is one of the most important aspects of attending an ayahuasca ceremony. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and we'll talk about that in a second, about picking a place to go. On the medical side, which you said is very important, in the West, we're not patient. We want we're so used to, I make a joke that's like, this isn't Amazon.com, it's the Amazon, right? You don't get things in a couple of hours, in a couple of days. It might take a few weeks, a few months, or a year or two. However, I can assure you, based on my experience, that whatever the wait time is, it's worth the wait, because it's an incubation period. It's a gestation period where the universe is preparing you to receive that next step in your evolution, that next step in your connection to God and to nature. And so what happens is not only do you put yourself at risk by lying or by omitting, because some people say, well, I didn't tell you the truth, but I didn't lie to you about it. So, okay, so we'll just play that game for a second. So either by straight up lying or by not being completely honest or clear or omitting the truth, first of all, you're putting yourself at risk. And you're also creating a danger for the facilitators, right? This is a very sacred brew. This is a very sacred ceremony and ritual. And again, these cultures have been around for over 5,000 years. So as Westerners, we should approach them with reverence, with respect, with honesty, with transparency. Because if I'm not honest, if I'm not clear, if I'm not fully transparent, and I come with a pre-existing condition or medication, and then something happens to me, there's also a negative reflection on the culture, on the center where you went to, and that could create an inhibitance for them to help and support others in the future. So it's also very selfish, right? Again, unfortunately, a common trait of the West. It's me, myself, and I, and then maybe me, myself, and I again, and perhaps if there's anything less, I might worry about you. And so these are things that we have to overcome, is to be more sharing, more aware of others, more aware of how my choices and the consequences that they create impact not just myself, but those around me and my environment. So that's very important.
Yes.
Who you choose, the spiritual teacher, the center. So let me put this straight out there, the places that I recommend. And then we'll talk about how to choose one that feels right for you. I can only recommend the places that I have been to. Okay. There's one place that I'm going to recommend that I haven't been there, but I've known this tribe for many years. I know their leader, and I know people that have gone to sit with them. So I'll start with them. It's Kuntanawa Nation, and it's Haru. Haru is an amazing spiritual teacher, and they're out in Brazil. They're of the Rapé tribe. That's their primary medicine, and they also work with a type of ayahuasca that's called uni in Brazil. So that's Kuntanawa Nation. They're fantastic. They're beautiful. And especially if you want to learn more about Rapé and dive into that, then I highly recommend making the trip out to Brazil and being there with them. For those of us that have not taken the brew at all, and maybe we're a little more on in our years, or psychologically we feel better about having a Western medical staff on site, or you simply like big comfortable beds and AC. There's nothing wrong with that, with gorgeous swimming pools. There's a place in Costa Rica called Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. That's rhythmia.com. It's RY.
I will put all the info in the descriptions for them.
Great. Thank you, Juliet.
You're welcome.
So Rhythmia is a luxury resort that is focused on plant medicine, and they have a 7-day program, and I think it's a fantastic place. Our teacher Juliet Taita Juanito goes there 4 times a year, and starting in 2023 he's going to be there twice a month. So that's a huge opportunity that's coming up next year for Rhythmia and for its participants to have Juanito there with them so often. There's another place that's the place that's near and dear to my heart, which is Finca Ambiwasi. And fincaambiwasi.com, and you'll put the link, Juliet, and you've been here. Here we host an 11-day experience. It is a very life-changing experience. We have here an alternative therapy clinic. We have a tobacco shaman that comes. We have grandmothers that come to teach the secrets of the womb, the secrets of the moon, weaving. We have we have 4 very deep yahe ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies, and a lot of different natural healing modalities on site, along with vitamin cocktails and ozone treatments, plant baths, plant saunas. It's a full immersion in the holistic healing experience of ayahuasca and all the other plants, as they say in the culture, that dance around it. Because in our culture, Yahe is the principal pillar for guidance and healing in nature, right? And not above God. God is the divine mother, the divine father is the totality of everything. But in the tools that have been given to us by the creator, Yahe is the principal pillar. And then we say the other plants dance around it. These are other healing plants like king nettle, like basil, like tobacco. And so it's an experience in this healing. It's an experience in this world, and that's Finca Miwasi. And then John Freddy, who has been studying with Taita Juanito now for almost 18 years, Taita Juanito gave John Freddy and I permission to launch a new program called Savage Encounter. And this is a man's spiritual healing retreat. This is only for men. And that takes place in the jungle on John Freddy's family's land. And there we only take 15 men at a time. And that is centered around helping ignite the flame of the divine masculine. And part of that is helping men get in touch with their feminine side. We do weaving, we do spiritual payments, we have rituals where we connect to the fire, to the wind, to the water, to the earth, to the elements, where we connect to the divine mother, where we connect to prayer, we connect to exercise. And in Savage Encounter, what we seek to do is to offer men tools to bring us into awareness with our emotions, with the strength of our consciousness, the strength of our body, and the balance between what is my feminine creative force and my masculine protective force. And so that's Savage Encounter. So those are the places that I recommend, right? Because those are the places that I have experience with, either directly or indirectly, like with Kuntanawa Nation. How do you choose a place that's right for you? Because there's many places in the world where you can go. So after 11 years of experience, I have a formula that I recommend. One, you want the place to have recommendation. You want to at least know one person that's been there, that they could recommend it to you. Two, you want the place to have good reference. So you can contact them and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about going down to be with you guys. Could you give me 3 or 4 people that I can call as a reference? You know, real human beings, not workers, not staff members, not students, but people that have just visited there. That's what you want. And you want to actually get in touch with these people and ask them about their experience. So you want recommendation, you want reference. The other thing that you want is an ancestral lineage. You want a place, in my opinion, that holds a lineage, that they're connected to the Amazon, that there's an elder or a group of elders that hold the space and the facilitators accountable. So for example, like in John Freddy, in my case with Savage Encounter here in Colombia, if anyone had an issue with us, God forbid, but for whatever it was, maybe it was a misunderstanding, miscommunication, you can go to our teacher and you can go to our elders and say, hey, listen, this and this happened to me while I was there with Carlos and John Freddy at Savage Encounter. And we'll hear about it. And there'll be a meeting and a council, and resolution will be brought forth, you know, and your issue will be resolved, addressed, and answered. So you want a place that has accountability through ancestral lineage. So that to me is really important. So you want recommendations, reference, and accountability through ancestral lineage. And then you have to do your research, right? Look them up online, see what other people are saying, what their experiences have been like, what do they offer. And really important, if you get to a space, it doesn't matter if you flew 1,000 miles to get there, and it doesn't feel right, don't stay. Trust your intuition. You know, it might be the greatest place in the world. Maybe it's not the place for you. You know, or maybe there's a reason why your intuition is saying, hey, look, let's not stay here. So I think that's the final point on that, is if you get somewhere, I understand that you invested money, and I understand that you invested a lot of time in getting there and a lot of energy preparing to get there. But if you get there and your intuition feels that something is off, above all else, one of the things that we teach on this path is to honor yourself. And so I think those are really great guidelines. I know that they are. I know that they're great guidelines. I've developed them throughout the years. Certainly not all of it is my own. I've heard from other teachers what they recommend, and I've kind of put these 4 points together because it is a very common question. How do I find a place that's right for me?
Yeah.
And in that being said, you know, you have to look to see what's the right culture for you. And that's what I'm talking about, looking online, because, for example, ceremonies in Peru are a certain way, and ceremonies in Brazil are another way, and ceremonies in Colombia are yet in a different way. So you have to bring it all together. Give yourself time, and then above all is to open your heart to your heart's guidance. And something that's really important that our teacher always says is to not come drink when it's on your mind, but come drink when it's on your heart. When you feel the calling from the heart space, then come drink. And very curious, the elders teach that from the moment you decide to sit in ceremony, that's the moment that the medicine begins to work with you. Mm-hmm.
You start seeing dreams, you have signs. It's like, okay, it's time. I got the call, I'm coming. So can you share with us, when is your next retreat for Savage Encounter for Men? This is incredible because if you look around, there's not much out there just for men.
Well, so okay. So thank you. I'll talk a little bit about Savage Encounter. It is a man's retreat. The next one coming up is January 14th through January 25th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want more information on that, you can find me on any social media platform, Carlos Duran Live, and just send me a message. You can send me an email, which is best, carlosduranlive@gmail.com.
Which I will post.
You can visit
everything.
my personal website.
Yeah, I will post
carlosduranlive.com. And you can send me. Thank you, love. I appreciate that. So then it gives you all the information. I'll get it to you. But in general, what we're doing with Savage Encounter is we have a 30-day pre-retreat program that has 4 live group sessions in preparation for the retreat. We have a dieta that we send you out 2 weeks before the retreat for you to begin to prepare the mind and the body. And then we offer a one-on-one heart opening session with this amazing couple that we have, Tatiana and Gustavo. They do a very specific type of heart opening therapy. And that takes place 30 days before the retreat. The 4 workshops and the 1 private session, along with supporting emails and documentation that we send you, and the dieta, the diet, to prepare. Then we have the actual 11-day encounter, where we have 3 yahe ceremonies. We have 1 yoko ceremony, which is a purging ceremony. We have a fire ceremony. We have a 4 elements ceremony. We have daily prayer ritual. We have a visit to a sacred lagoon where we make a spiritual payment. Before we make that spiritual payment, we have a workshop on making spiritual payments. And the idea of the whole retreat is, throughout the workshops, the discussions, the gatherings, we're offering you tools, actual actionable tools that you can decide which one of these tool sets, which of the tools in the tool set that we offer you are the ones that you're going to work with when you get back home. And those become your tools in your spiritual path, in your spiritual development, to strengthen your mind, body, and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said before, the theme of Savage Encounter is to ignite the sacred masculine fire within all of us, and to teach us that sweet balance and connection between the Divine Mother and the Sacred Father that lives in all human beings. And then we have a 30-day post-retreat integration program that has a group. We have an online group where you can talk, and we have all the brothers are there to support one another. We have email support, and then we have 4 classes that we do, 4 follow-up workshops that we do 30 days through the first 30 days from the retreat. And then we're always there for you afterwards. So that's Savage Encounter. It does take place in the jungle of Colombia. There's no AC. There's no creature comforts. We are really there to be raw, to be savage, to consciously connect to nature and to ourselves. And it is an absolutely soul expanding experience. The men, we did the first one this year, and to this day, we're almost, it's almost been over a month now, and still getting messages of gratitude. The wives of the men, of some of the men that were married, have reached out to us. We had a brother that came, a gay brother that was there, who could not stop expressing the power that he felt in healing with his heterosexual brothers. So it's, and I say that and I emphasize it because I want all my brothers to know, if you're gay, straight, it doesn't matter. If you're a man, this retreat is for you. It's open to you, and you're free to contact me to see if it really is for you. So that's Savage Encounter, and the next one is the 14th to the 25th of January.
You're basically chipping away all what's not needed and bringing the gold out in them.
Right, that's a great way of putting it. We want to bring the gold out in each one of our brothers. And if you're a woman listening to this and saying, where do I go? I want something like that. Come to Finca Ambiwasi. Finca Ambiwasi is for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. You talked about tools. I know you have a 30-day post-op. You may be giving them homework, like do meditation and breath work and all that. But there are also tools that we can actually take home, like the hape, sweet lotions, the bitter lotions. And I know that you have a company that ships all over the world, correct? So would you?
Well, I no longer have that company. That company, it now belongs to my baby mama.
Oh, okay.
But I am proud to be an ambassador of that company. And it's still, I'm anchored as a co-founder in that company for time eternal. That company is Four Visions Market. That's fourvisionsmarket.com.
Mm-hmm.
And what Four Visions Market does, it's a bridge between your home and the Amazon. They work with over 22 tribes in the Amazon. They have an amazing program. 50% of all retail prices go back to the Amazonian tribe, healer, or artisan that is providing the tool that you're bringing home.
Yeah.
They guarantee the quality of all the tools, not just physically, but spiritually, energetically. All the tools, all the elements on Four Visions Market are made in prayer, and they hold that sacred frequency. On top of the 50% give back program that they have, every month, Four Visions Market takes 10% of its profit and distributes it to the different projects and programs. One of its give back gateways is Magic Fund, which is Movement for Amazonian Growth and Indigenous Cultures. Yes. Again, a nonprofit that I helped found. I am the founder of it. That project is now in the hands of a very fully able-bodied board of directors. And I create these things and then I move on because my job is to be the pioneer, not the sustainer. So I put in the foundation, I build, I find the right team to take care of the baby and help it grow, and I move on to the next project that needs to be built according to the vision that I'm given in life. So fourvisionsmarket.com, check it out. If there's something there that calls to your heart, whether it's a piece of sacred jewelry or lotion or copal or rapé, and you've never purchased from them before, go ahead and use the discount code Carlos Duran Live, and they're going to give you, I believe, a 10% discount on your first purchase. It might be 15%, and rock it out. Check it out. They have a great money back guarantee. So if you don't like it, you're not feeling it, you can always send it back. You've got no risk. But use that code Carlos Duran Live. And as a disclaimer, that is my affiliate code, but you get the discount. So there you
go. The only reason I mention it, because people always ask me where to get hape. Do I get it on Etsy? I'm like, no. Don't buy any spiritual products on Amazon.com or Etsy. You want to make sure where your product is coming from, because you're literally blowing into your brain. You want to make sure that you're inhaling a good hape, you're using a proper lotion, the ingredients, and they're all made in integrity, which is very important. Thank you so much.
There's a few websites out there that have a lot of integrity. I
Okay,
do not think that Etsy is one of them. I do not recommend Etsy at all for anything that's related to an Amazonian spiritual tool.
great.
No.
Yeah, so important. Thank you so much, Carlos, for your time. You're coming to us from Colombia, taking the time away from the baby.
Yep.
We'll see you more.
Go hang out with him now.
We will see you more. I'll probably have you back sometime soon. And now you have your own YouTube channel, Carlos Duran live and out there, and you'll be sharing more info. And I will be sure to post all the information on the description so you can connect with Carlos. You can connect with me if you have any question. I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you again. I love you so much, and I will see you soon.
Juliet, thank you so much. To you watching at home or wherever you're watching, in a cafe, in your car, and to you, Juliet, may God bless you. May God protect you. May the divine love always shower itself upon you and your family.
Thank
May
you
your
so much.
path always be clear, full of blessings, full of wisdom and prosperity for your mind, your body, and your soul. I love you. God loves you. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.